Hello, good evening. It's 22 hours GMT live from the News Hub here at Addis Ababa. This is News at 10. I'm Stephen NT. And let's start with the major news highlights for the day. Chairman of the Appointments Committee of Parliament, Joseph Osei-Wusu, says he's taking the bribery allegation seriously and has backed a full-scale investigation into the matter. The chairman said he had wanted to suspend sitting of the committee until investigations were conducted. Minister-designate for Women and Children's Affairs and Social Protection has denied ever saying that the chairperson for the Electoral Commission got her job through sexual favors from former President Mahama. The nominee was responding to questions when she appeared before the Appointments Committee Monday. And the minister nominee for Regional Reorganization and Development, Dan Botre, says the creation of the 4 new regions is not an attempt to favor the MPP against the other political parties. Appearing before the Appointments Committee of Parliament, he noted the new regions would accelerate the pace of the country's development. The Electoral Commission has begun paying officials engaged in the 2016 general elections allowances to over 200,000 electoral officers delayed following the late release of funds by the Finance Ministry. President Akufo-Addo has called on the new Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, to effect reforms at the UN to promote and deepen international cooperation. He was speaking at a breakfast meeting ahead of the commencement of the ordinary session of the 28th Assembly of the African Union. And Ambassador Kwesi Korte has been elected the Deputy Chairperson of the African Union Commission. He was elected on Monday at the 28th Summit of Heads of State and Government at the African Union headquarters in Addis Ababa in Ethiopia, with over 35 years' experience as a diplomat. And the various U.S. media houses are reporting that dozens of U.S. diplomats around the world are set to formally criticize President Donald Trump, his immigration restrictions. ABC News and the Associated Press says a dissent cable has been drafted for the senior State Department officials. Draft text seen by the BBC says the ban on nationals from 7 Muslim-majority countries will not make the U.S. safer and is un-American. This is still the big one. You can join us on Facebook Live and post your comments on our Facebook wall, facebook.com/newsontv3, and on Twitter at newsontv3. Up next is the big one. For the big ones, Time with the Captains, a monthly business program that seeks to mentor and inspire the youth, especially business students from selected universities across the country, came off today. Captain for the day, Stanbic Bank boss Al-Hassan Andani, encouraged participants to have the right attitudes.
Time with the Captains is a monthly business program that seeks to mentor and inspire the youth, especially business students from selected universities across the country. In his interaction with the students, Managing Director of Stanbic Bank, Al-Hassan Andani, said formal education is important. He says education sets the frame for an appreciation of how a modern economy is organized. According to him, though it is important, it does not in itself translate into success after school. He said one learns more out of school than in school, and that school prepares one for a tougher university, which is the University of Life.
The University of Life is all a good blend of your technical skills and interpersonal relationships. Because, you know, especially as you progress through the ranks, in the first phases of your career, you demonstrate a lot of technical skills because you have to get things done. And therefore, you have to be technically competent. As you progress, you know, you gain a lot more seniority, and then they put people underneath you to supervise. So you move a little bit away from too much technical concentration to interpersonal skills, because you need all the interpersonal skills in order to organize teams.
He encouraged the participants to have the right attitude.
So somebody can come with the first class, some comes with the second class, upper, some comes on lower, some even come with the third. But the third might just come in with the right attitude. So we hire for attitude. Just having the degree probably is 8 out of 10, out of 20 questions. And the rest is unrelated to your degree. You understand? So we hire for attitudes. It's you know, you don't want luggage. You want people who will come think on their feet, people who are, you know, assertive, people who, you know, are resourceful, and they can stand challenge.
Welcome. This is the big one. Our chairman of the Appointments Committee, Joseph Osewusu, says he is taking the bribery allegations seriously and has backed a full-scale investigations into the matter. The chairman said he had wanted to suspend sitting of the committee until investigations were conducted.
Sitting of the Appointment Committee Monday delayed for more than 1 hour. The meeting was called to order at 8 minutes past 11 a.m. with only one member from the minority side present. On the bribery allegation leveled against some members of the committee, the chairman said he had considered suspending the entire process until investigations were over.
After consultation, the leadership and I, and in particular the majority leader and I, came to a conclusion that any such decision would stall government business, as the president needs his ministers to work with him. Then I further suggested that if possible, this whole committee be reconstituted in order that the confidence the Ghanaian public have in Parliament may not be shaken. We together scanned through the Constitution and in particular standing orders. And after a careful review, we realized that it was not practicable under our rules.
He was worried Ghanaians may not trust members again and hopes their integrity would be restored.
It is therefore with a lot of pain that I've come to sit here at this table again, presiding over this meeting.
When the minority leader Haruna Idrisu later joined the meeting, he also called for investigations into the matter.
I will and we will support full-scale investigation to establish the veracity or otherwise of any matter that borders on the reputations of persons, the reputations of Parliament, including a full-scale parliamentary inquiry, which may be at Parliament's Privileges Committee.
Meanwhile, a member of the committee, Al-Hassan Suhini, one of the petitioners, has debunked allegations that some members of the minority are acting so because some were not in support of Haruna Idrisu being the minority leader.
The minority is united behind his leadership. The minority respects the fact that Honorable Haruna Idrisu is our leader, and he deserves it. We cannot have anyone better to serve as chief whip, because of especially the experience that Honorable Muntaka has had over the years. But the people who are diverting attention to a non-existent crisis in the minority are those who want to prevent a discussion of the matter of bribery.
MP for North Tong, Okujeto Ablakwa, and MP for Boko Central, Mahama Ayariga, had planned to petition the Speaker on the allegation.
We said we're doing that this morning. You know how the appointment committee began this morning, and we were all expected to be here. So we are doing what is right. I am sure by now, I can't even tell, for all you know, is already with the Speaker. But I haven't gone to my office yet since I came from home, from Koforidua, where we had an orientation.
Right, let's do some analysis on this now. Tony Dogbe is the co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption. He's joining us via live link. Now, good evening, sir. Thank you. Now, do you back the calls for investigations, full-scale investigations into this bribery allegation, or you could call it scandal?
Definitely, I back the call for it. I think I made that call about 2 weeks ago when Martin Amidu issued his paper about corruption in Parliament. And I think it's not something just for the parliamentarians. Parliament belongs to the people. We have elected them, the parliamentarians, our honorables, to represent us. And if Martin Amidu came up in a strongly worded paper that there is corruption in Parliament and instances that he himself had experienced, and one of those instances had to do with appointments and of vetting for vetting the president's nominees for appointment, and we're hearing the same.
Hello, Mr. Dogbe. Right, I think we... can you hear me, sir?
Hello?
Yeah, we were losing you
slightly. I can hear you. Sorry,
good.
Hearing me.
I can hear you now very clearly. Now, I want to ask you what form you think that such an investigation should take. Would you recommend an independent committee, or you would say Parliament has the capacity to do an internal inquiry into this?
I think we should go with the separations of powers, and I think Parliament should do its own investigation, investigations into the allegations that came up with the analysis video. So I would first give Parliament the opportunity to do it, but then I still would think that this should be an open investigation, that the public can also come and testify on instances where the public have felt that people feel they had to give monies to the members of Parliament or a member of Parliament to either meet them. And I know civil society have had a lot of that, where sometimes just to meet members of Parliament or committees, you get the impression that you're being asked to pay money before you can exercise this democratic right. And I think also Martin Amidu raised other issues to do with even passing bills. It's like you have to give money before bills will be passed. And I've had a personal experience of a friend who said that was his experience. He was a chairman of a committee. Unfortunately, he's dead, so I don't want to mention his name. And he told me he was really shocked that to pay his money to members of Parliament for that to be done. And I think Martin Amidu raised it. So it goes beyond the current allegations that are being made. Right. And it keeps coming. I've been touched on it, PCO Fori touched on it, and I think it's high time that we have a proper investigation done, and I think Parliament should do it.
Right. Mr. Tony Dogbe, we're grateful.
The public to attend.
Right. Mr. Dogbe, we're grateful for your time. Thanks very much for your contributions. Meanwhile, the African Center for Parliamentary Affairs is also demanding a full-scale independent investigations into this bribery allegations. Let's listen to Dr. Rashid Dramani, who is the executive director.
It's not only a dent, I think it's a complete damage to the integrity of Parliament, especially, given the way the story is unfolding. I think every minute, every day, we are hearing different sides of it, and all pointing to the fact that more and more the image of Parliament is sinking deeper and deeper. You have, for the first time, we are hearing members of Parliament petitioning the Speaker and saying we are prepared to submit ourselves to an investigation. In the past we've heard these rumors. Most of them are from outside The only one that we heard, that came very close was PCRPO for saying people took money and so on. But this is one moment when 3 members of parliament have signed a petition and they are saying we are prepared to subject ourselves to an investigation. And I think that Parliament has a lot of work to do to clean what is now becoming some serious debt that is sticking on its image. I think the minister has been sworn in already, unfortunately. Maybe, perhaps, whilst the story was developing, perhaps the president should have waited until all these things are cleared. It's now, as it stands, these are allegations. We don't have the proof yet. And I don't think the work of government should stop. The work of parliament should not stop either. But once we get to the bottom of it, if it is the members of parliament who are lying, I think maybe for the first time, let's see some action on the part of our legislature. If it is the minister who has been implicated, I believe Ghanaians know that the president would act because of his stand on corruption, because of his integrity and so on.
You are demanding a full-scale investigation into
Yes, indeed. I think that an investigation, full-scale, is in order, but not one conducted by Parliament itself, because we can't, I think, at this stage, believe that the Privileges Committee would be independent enough, especially because, you see, this matter has shown a very clear division. The institution has taken a stand. A statement was issued on behalf of Parliament, and that's the institution has taken a stand against those who are making the allegations. And I think for the outcome of whatever investigation to be trusted by Ghanaians, it is very important that an outside body, similar to what happened in the UK, similar to what happens elsewhere when scandals like this break out, you cannot trust members to be judges in their own court. So for the sake of the image of Parliament, for the sake of our democracy, I think it's important that an outside body looks into this.
Outside body like who?
Well, I know the executive cannot set up a committee to investigate Parliament. Neither can the judiciary. Parliament itself can set up a body that will report to Parliament, but one that is independent. And I think that that's what happens elsewhere. In the UK, that was what.
You're still watching News at 10. We're live from the News Hub here at Adesawe in Accra.
How relevant are your skills?
Summit of the African Union, which opened on Monday in Ethiopia's capital, Addis Ababa. This year's summit, under the theme Harnessing Demographic Dividend in Youth, also saw the election of a new chairperson and his vice.
The first day of the summit saw the election of Chad's Foreign Minister Musa Faki Mohammed as AU Commission Chair and Ghana's Ambassador Kwesi Korte as Vice Chair. The summit, under the theme Harnessing the Demographic Dividend Through Investment in the Youth, was preceded on Sunday with a closed-door breakfast retreat which had the new UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres in attendance. President Akufo-Addo at the meeting called on the new Secretary-General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, to lead the effecting of reforms at the UN to promote and deepen international cooperation. He urged the new UN Secretary-General to ensure the realization of the Ezulwuni Consensus, a position on international relations and reforms of the United Nations agreed by the African Union in 2005.
Meanwhile, Ghana's Ambassador Kwesi Korte has been elected as the Deputy Chairperson of the African Union Commission. He was elected on Monday at the 28th Summit of Heads of State and Government at the African Union headquarters in Addis Ababa in Ethiopia. Ambassador Korte was the Executive Secretary to former President John Dramani Mahama. He previously served as Deputy Minister for Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration. With over 35 years' experience as a diplomat, Ambassador Korte served in various capacities in Ghana's embassies and high commissions in Cotonou, Cairo, Brussels, Havana, London, and the Ghana Permanent Mission to the United Nations in the New York. Few minutes after his election, Ghana's President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, who is attending the summit, tweeted to congratulate his compatriot. This is News at 10. We have more news for you. Please stay.
Hooray! Now the news.
Welcome back. Now, the minister nominee for Regional Reorganization and Development, Dan Kweku Boche, says the creation of the 4 new regions is not an attempt to favor the MPP against the other political parties. Appearing before the Appointments Committee of Parliament, he noted the new regions would accelerate the pace of the country's development.
The minister nominee for the Regional Reorganization and Development, Dan Kweku Boche, appeared before the vetting committee with maps of Ghana to justify the creation of the new regions. His stress research suggests as many as 20 regions, reacting to a question whether the NPP is not embarking on the creation of the new regions because it wants to favor its political development. Dan Boche indicated the creation of districts and constituencies do not really favor the party which initiates it. Alleviating poverty, according to him, is the underlying reason.
The whole idea is to improve upon government administrative machinery and at the regional level, which will lead to accelerated development. And that is what all of us, all our people, that's what they are interested in.
He assured the committee a wide range of consultation will be done to avoid conflicts, especially citing of regional capitals.
And the Electoral Commission has begun paying officials engaged in the 2016 general elections allowances to over 200,000 electoral officials delayed following the late release of funds by the Finance Ministry. Jonathan Adams, our reporter, has the rest of the story.
Delay in the payment of their allowances, some of the election officials placed calls to threaten the EC. Over 600 officials from the Korte district were at the Commission's headquarters in Accra to receive their allowance. The officials include presiding officers, returning officers, deputy returning officers, collation officers, technicians, verification officers, and name reference list officers.
You stand behind the gate, they will mention your name, and then you come and then check your name. And then there is a number attached to your name. Afterwards, you go inside the room and then you join a queue. And then when it's your turn, you just go in and then you mention your number and then you take your money.
It was just yesterday evening, I had a test on my phone that we should come for our monies. So I came here this morning to register and then went back to work. And then around this 12 o'clock, I came back for the money.
Returning officers are to be paid 800 cedis, deputy returning and collation officers 700 cedis. Technicians are entitled to 500 cedis, presiding officers 400 cedis, with feeding allowance of 30 cedis. Verification officers and name reference list officers are to be paid 350 cedis and 30 cedis for feeding. Those in charge of ballot issues are entitled to a ration of 300 cedis and feeding fee of 30 cedis. Eric Kofi Jakpasu is Commission's head of communication.
Those who worked at the various polling stations and collation centers during the elections of the December 7th, we are paying them now. Because it's now that the money has been released from the Ministry of Finance to the Electoral Commission.
Services officials rendered included checking of names, verification of voters, application of indelible ink on the fingers of voters, counting of votes cast, and tabulation of results of both the presidential and the parliamentary elections.
And that's it from me here at the News Hub in Adesawe, Kanda, Accra. And on behalf of the crew, good night. There's more news at 3news.com.